Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarane Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gau Bhakta Vrinda Trinadapi Sunichena Tarad Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Namaiva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyata Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Could you light one stick of incense? Okay. So our host, Kamlesh, has requested a particular katha on the topmost section of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, known as the 5 chapters of the Räsa-leelä. The particular chapter that he wants me to cover in detail, exactly as Maharaj Parikshit heard it, is the final chapter of those 5 chapters. So I will give a synopsis of the first 4 chapters leading up to that final 5th chapter. And what I want to do is go into samadhi, and I hope that nobody comes up and asks for blessings during the katha. If they could kindly wait till after, because it's kind of hard to do 8 things at once. So, before we proceed, we need a few preliminary concepts to be understood. As I have learned from my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Vyasadeva, in compiling the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam on the order of his spiritual master Narada Muni, presented it very scientifically in the 12 cantos of the Bhagavatam. The narration of Krishna's Janma Karma Chame Divyam, as we learn in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna's birth and activities are transcendental, divine, but Vyasadeva puts them in the 10th canto because it takes 9 cantos to understand what we mean by this word and person, Krishna. He does not start off with the Krishna's Janma Karma. Actually, it begins with after the battle of Kurukshetra with the Pandavas and proceeds from there. Then in the 10th canto, then we hear about Krishna's birth and activities. And that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, anyone who understands my birth in activities in truth does not come back again to this material world, but comes or goes back to Krishna in his abode. And the reason that Kamlesh picked the chapter for tonight is because at the very end you will receive a benediction. So whatever you do, don't leave. Stay for the entire katha, otherwise you may miss the benediction. So, previously, when Krishna was 7 years old, he benedicted the young unmarried gopis. The unmarried gopis, in the beginning of the winter season, worshipped a form of Durga known as Katyayani. Every morning, they would take bath in the Yamuna, in the cold waters, and they worshipped a clay or mud form of this goddess Katyayani. And the culture was that young unmarried girls would worship this form and pray for a nice husband. Each of the girls secretly, without telling the others, each of them prayed to Goddess Katyayani, I want Krishna as my husband. Here is one example of how Krishna is all attractive. Each girl wanted Krishna. So, at that time Krishna appeared, he joked with them, humbled them, embarrassed them, but told them, I will fulfill your desire at a later date. That later date was 1 year later. And Krishna chose the most beautiful night of the year, the full moon known as Sharad Purnima, which is considered the most beautiful night in all. Krishna chose that night, and he began to play his transcendental flute. When the gopis heard that sound, it was early evening. Some of them were feeding their children. Some were getting dressed. Some were taking bath. Some were serving their husbands. But as soon as they heard the sound of that flute, they immediately stopped everything and ran to the spot where that sound was coming from. This is the power of Krishna's flute, especially for the gopis who are in constant meditation on the sound of that flute, just as we should be meditating on the sound of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So it didn't matter what the gopis were doing. If the milk was boiling over on the stove, they let it. And they hurriedly, some were getting dressed, so they put the bottom part of the dress on top and the top part of the dress on the bottom. They ran. They ran to that spot. After hearing this preliminary information, Maharaj Parikshit, who is hearing this from Shukadeva Goswami, has a very important question. That the gopis became liberated by meditating on Krishna. So what if anybody is meditating on someone, will they also get liberated? If I'm always thinking of my wife, does that mean I will get liberated? If I'm always thinking of my husband, and now in Kali Yuga, if I'm thinking of my doggy, will I get liberated? And Shukadeva Goswami mildly chastises Maharaj Parikshit, saying, this question was already answered. The answer is no. Because anyone who has studied Bhagavad Gita knows that whatever you're meditating on, that is going to determine your next birth. You don't get liberation by thinking of your husband, wife, dog. No, you take the birth of that thing which you are constantly meditating. But the gopis were meditating on Krishna, and Krishna is the absolute truth. That is different. And that is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says in chapter 8, if you think of me at the time of death, does he say you become me? No. He says you will come to me, not become. Big difference. So the gopis, yes, their liberation is there because they're always thinking of Krishna. That is how you achieve liberation. Not by thinking of your husband, wife, boyfriend, or doggy. You get liberation by thinking of Krishna. Very important point. Now, when the gopis assembled on this full moon night to where Krishna was playing his flute, Krishna started to play with them, tease them by saying, why have you come? And the gopis were a little bit surprised. And Krishna was speaking to the gopis, okay, you have seen the beauty of the Vrindavan forest now, but you have children to take care of, you have husbands to take care of, you have so many duties at home, you should return. And at this time, Krishna told the gopis that for a woman, the topmost duty, serve the husband, serve the family of the husband, and then Krishna said, and most importantly, take care of the children. That is the topmost duties of a woman. By doing so, she will achieve elevation in the next life. Now, there's one thing I didn't mention. Some of the gopis who tried to run to see Krishna were stopped by either their husbands or brothers. They were physically checked from going. So because they were checked, they were feeling intense separation. Some of them gave up their lives. They died out of intense separation. And their spirit soul then went to the site of the Rasa dance. Those gopis who are what is called eternal associates, they were not checked. They had free entry. Now it is mentioned by our spiritual master, there are different categories of gopis. One category are the eternal associates, Radha, Lalita, Vishaka. But it is mentioned that there were some gopis who were being promoted as jiva, living entities being promoted. So this answers the question, can you become a gopi? Yes. Just like at your job, can you get a raise? Yes. You want to get a raise, yes? And it's called, oh, you're going to get a promotion. And sometimes the clever boss gives you a title, but no rate in pay. Oh, we're going to give you a bonus. Now you're going to become this new title. But no rate change in your pay. Yes. What would you rather have, the title or the bonus? Obviously. So, it is clearly mentioned some of these gopis were being promoted from the status of ordinary persons to this platform of entering Krishna's Räsa-leelä dance. And another answer to this question, if you remember at the Govardhan Anakut program at Mehta's house back in October when we had their Anakut, the last thing I did was I played that Prabhupada clip. Prabhupada was explaining the Jai Radha Madhava song, or one of the songs, and Prabhupada was saying the goal of this Krishna consciousness movement is to become one of the Brajavasis. So yes, you can enter, and Prabhupada was saying, you can enter this intimate entourage of Krishna. Especially if you are belonging to the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And very close by, don't you not have a temple of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you go there every Sunday? So you are well on your way. Keep practicing Krishna consciousness. Keep reading these nice books of Srila Prabhupada. Gradually you're being promoted. Krishna told the gopis, you should go home now. The gopis were very broken-hearted. They had come to dance with Krishna. So the gopis explained their side. They said, we can't go home now. We have come, you have played the flute, we have come. Why should we want to go back home? We don't care. You're supposed to give us shelter, Krishna. Kamlesha's favorite verse. If you surrender unto me, I will give you protection. The gopis knew, Krishna, we are surrendering to you. You should take care of us. It was similar to what had happened in the previous Leela, when the wives of the Brahmanas, remember when Krishna sent the cowherd boys to beg for food, and the Brahmins said no, then Krishna told the boys, go to the wives of the Brahmins because they're my pure devotees. And when the cowherd boys went, the wives didn't give the food to the boys, they brought the food to Krishna and Balaram. And they said the same. Krishna told the wives, you should go back to your husbands, they need you. And they said, why do we want to go back to our husbands? We want to stay here. We are going to surrender to you. You have to give us shelter. It was the same logic. Of course, Krishna told the Brahmins' wives, you should go back, and they did. But the gopis, they defeated Krishna. They said, we're not going back. You give us shelter. Krishna was defeated by the gopis. So they started to associate. And as the gopis are associating with Krishna, they are feeling as if they are the most fortunate women in the whole universe. And that's a fact. They were. So Krishna could detect, they're getting proud of their position. Now also at the same time, Krishna was with Radharani, and Radharani was thinking, there's all these gopis here, I'm not getting any special attention. Learn that. Someday that might come in handy, you unmarried boys. Remember that. Radharani wanted special attention. So she started to leave, and Krishna went with her deep into the forest. When Krishna disappeared from all the other gopis, they realized, Krishna left us because we became proud. And then the gopis said, but we know that he went with this one gopi. She must have worshipped Krishna better than us. Therefore that name, Radha. Everybody say. Meaning, and this is where that name comes. The one who has worshipped Krishna the best. Don't get mad. The position is taken. You can become one of the assistants of Radharani, but you cannot move over. No. That post is taken. You can become assistant, no problem. And it'll be good enough. So, the gopis then went mad because they were feeling they were with Krishna intimately. Krishna had left. Just as I've given the example thousands of times. You have a lottery ticket worth $100 million. You're going on the freeway and it flies out the window. Of course, you don't play lottery, but you could understand how you were this close and then gone. So the gopis were like that. They were this close. They were with Krishna. Krishna left them. So they began going through the forest, asking the land, the trees, the animals, everything. Have you seen our Krishna? Have you seen Krishna? And then they started to act out all of Krishna's childhood pastimes. Just like you have done dramas sometimes, right? So they also did. One was Krishna holding up Govardhan Hill, and one pretended to be Putana, and the other one played the part of Krishna killing Putana. And they also did the Kaliya, and she said, I will crush you, Kaliya. They acted out all the pastimes of Krishna as they were going searching through the forest. Meanwhile, Srimati Radharani and Krishna are going deeper and deeper in the forest, and Krishna made a crown of flowers for Radharani, and Krishna was taking her, and at one point Radharani said, Oh Krishna, I'm tired. I can't go any further. So Krishna said, aha, Radharani is also getting proud. So Krishna said, okay, just climb on my shoulder. And as soon as Radharani attempted to climb on Krishna's shoulder, he disappeared. As Prabhupada mentions, Krishna does not like any of his devotees to have any pride. And that is why Lord Chaitanya says, what do we wear around our neck for constant remembrance? Trinadapi sunichena, taradiva sahishnuna, amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadahari. Constant remembrance. Not just when it's time to go to temple or Namahat program. Constantly we have to be in that mood of meekness and humility. Even at work, even with your spouse, with everyone, you must emulate this meekness, humility, tolerance, giving honor to everyone and not worrying about anyone honoring me. So Radharani now realizes, yes, I have become proud and Krishna has left. So she eventually meets up with the other gopis. Now in the beginning, the other gopis were a little jealous that Radharani had left with Krishna. A little. But when they saw Radharani was in their same plight, they took her in her midst. And they went to the bank of the Yamuna and they did this. They had a satsang. And they sang their song. That chapter is considered the highest chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Gopi Gita. Just as we have Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavatam you have Shiva Gita, the Uddhava Gita, one chapter, Gopi Gita. So they sang their song, and the essence of their song was that they were praying, Krishna, please, you return. I selected one of those prayers just to give you an idea of the mood of the Gopi Gita. So this is one of the prayers. O beloved, your all-auspicious appearance vanquishes the distress of all those living in Vraja's forest, because there are 12 forests of Vrindavan. Our minds long for your association. So this is what is meant by Vipralambha. This is the highest spiritual ecstasy. When you love God, Krishna, so much that you hanker, you miss, oh, I want to be with you. So they say, our minds long for your association. Please give to us just a bit of that medicine which counteracts the disease in your devotees' hearts. What is that they're talking about? A drop of the medicine which counteracts the disease. The disease is material attachment. That's the material disease. Material lust, material hankering, profit, fame, adoration, distinction, lust, anger, greed. This is the real disease of the heart. But there is a medicine which counteracts that disease, and that medicine is called Krishna praying, love of God. And you just need Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shukadeva Goswami said, when the cowherd girls heard the Supreme Personality of Godhead speak these most charming words, they forgot their distress caused by separation from him. Touching his transcendental limbs, they felt all their desires fulfilled. So just by Krishna's touch, they felt all their desires fulfilled. Who would like to one day be touched by Krishna and have all their desires fulfilled? Yes, that's why you are here tonight. If you didn't raise your hand, then I would have to wonder why. Maybe you're here just for the prasad. That's okay. That's okay. Even that, hey, when I first started coming, that's all I cared about. So, you're accepted. There on the Yamuna's banks, Lord Govinda then began the pastime of the Rasa dance in the company of those jewels among women, the faithful gopis, who joyfully linked their arms together. Notice, those jewel among women. Yes, the gopis are the most beautiful women in the whole universe. More beautiful than the demigoddesses. More beautiful than the Lakshmis, yes. More beautiful than the queens of Dwarka, yes. Jewels among women. The festive Rasa dance commenced with the gopis arrayed in a circle. Lord Krishna expanded himself and entered between each pair of gopis. And as that master of mystic power placed his arms around their necks, each girl thought he was standing next to her alone. Miracle of Krishna. There are thousands of gopis, but each girl is feeling Krishna is next to me alone. That's God. That's Krishna. The demigods and their wives were overwhelmed with eagerness to witness the Rasa dance, and they soon crowded the sky with their thousands of celestial airplanes. Kettle drums then resounded in the sky, while flowers rained down, and the chief Gandharvas and their wives sang Lord Krishna's spotless glories. A tumultuous sound arose from the armlets, ankle bells, and waist bells of the gopis as they sported with their beloved Krishna in the circle of the Rasa dance. In the midst of the dancing gopis, Lord Krishna appeared most brilliant, like an exquisite sapphire in the midst of golden ornaments. So the sapphire is the same color as Krishna, right? Dark blue, right? And the gopis are golden because they are expansions of Radharani Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. As the gopis sang in praise of Krishna, their feet danced, their hands gestured, and their eyebrows moved with playful smiles. With their braids and belts tied tight, their waists bending, their faces perspiring, the garments on their breasts moving this way and that, and their earrings swinging on their cheeks, Lord Krishna's young consorts shone like streaks of lightning in a mass of clouds. Eager to enjoy conjugal love, their throats colored with various pigments, the gopis sang loudly and danced. They were overjoyed by Krishna's touch, and they sang songs that filled the entire universe. One gopi, joining Lord Mukunda, everybody say that name? Mukunda has two meanings. The general meaning, Krishna is the one who gives liberation. The esoteric meaning, Krishna has a smiling face, and it is compared to the flower known as the kunda. And the kunda flower looks like it's smiling at you. So Mukunda, his face smiles like the smiling kunda flower. So now you know two meanings of the word. Very good. One gopi, joining Lord Mukunda in his singing, sang pure melodious tones that rose harmoniously above his. Krishna was pleased and showed great appreciation for her performance. Krishna said, "Excellent, excellent." Then another gopi repeated the same melody, but in a special metrical pattern, and Krishna praised her also. When one gopi grew tired from the rasa dance, she turned to Krishna, standing at her side, holding a baton, and grasped his shoulder with her arm. The dancing had loosened her bracelets and the flowers in her hair. Shukadev is painting a nice picture for you. Try to envision to the best of your ability. Upon the shoulder of one gopi, Krishna placed his arm, whose natural blue lotus fragrance was mixed with that of sandalwood pulp, anointing it. Now you have some confidential knowledge about God. Very confidential information about God. Where else are you going to find this? As the gopi relished that fragrance, her bodily hair stood on end in jubilation, and she kissed his arm. Next to Krishna's cheek, one gopi put her own beautified by the effulgence of her earrings, which glittered as she danced. Krishna then carefully gave her the betel nut he was chewing. Another gopi became fatigued as she danced and sang, the bells on her ankles and waist tinkling. So she placed upon her bosom the comforting lotus hand of Lord Achyuta. Everybody say. Achyuta means Krishna never falls. Krishna never fails. Krishna is always perfecto. Perfect. Achyuta. That's God. He's perfect. She and Krishna, Achyuta, was standing by her side. Having attained as their intimate lover, Lord Achyuta, who is the exclusive consort of the goddess of fortune, the gopis enjoyed great pleasure. They sang his glories as he held their necks with his arms. Enhancing the beauty of the gopis' faces were the lotus flowers behind their ears, the locks of hair decorating their cheeks, and drops of perspiration. The reverberation of their armlets and ankle bells made a loud musical sound, and their chaplets scattered. Thus the gopis danced with the Supreme Lord in the arena of the Rasa dance, as swarms of bees sang in accompaniment. So these bees, not ordinary bees, these are also devotees who have been allowed to enter this Rasa dance. So I would take even a birth as one of these bees. I would be willing to accept such a birth. In this way, now here, listen to what Shukadeva Goswami said. Very significant. In this way, Lord Krishna, the original Lord Narayan. Did you catch that? Krishna is the original Lord Narayan. That should answer a lot of questions. This is what Shukadeva Goswami, don't get mad at me. Shukadeva Goswami is saying, Krishna, the original Lord Narayan. Same thing Bhishma said on his deathbed, said the same thing. Adi Narayan, Krishna, you are Adi Narayan. Master of the goddess of fortune, that name is Madhava. Everybody. Master of the goddess of fortune. Took pleasure in the company of the young women of Vraja by embracing them, caressing them, and glancing lovingly at them as his smiled, his broad, playful smiles. It was as if a child were playing with his own reflection. Their senses, overwhelmed by the joy of having his physical association, the gopis could not prevent their hair, their dress, and the cloths covering their breasts from becoming disheveled. Their garlands and ornaments scattered, O hero of the Kuru dynasty. He's speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. The wives of the demigods, observing Krishna's playful activities from their airplanes, were entranced and became agitated with lust. Indeed, even the moon and his entourage, the stars, became astonished. Expanding himself as many times as there were cowherd women to associate with, the Supreme Lord, though self-satisfied, playfully enjoyed their company. That's important. Krishna was not dancing with the gopis for some selfish reason. Those who came at the beginning, Krishna told the gopis 1 year prior that I would fulfill your desire, because they all wanted Krishna as their husband. So Krishna told them a year prior, I will fulfill your desire later. This is how he is fulfilling their desire. By dancing with them very intimately, that is how he is fulfilling the desire of the gopis. He did this rasa dance to satisfy their desire. Otherwise, what does it say here? Self-satisfied. The word is Atmaram. Everybody say. Completely self-satisfied. He doesn't need. I need so many things. But Krishna is Atmaram. Self-satisfied. Seeing that the gopis were fatigued from the dancing, merciful Krishna lovingly wiped their faces with his comforting hand. What do you think of Krishna now? Is he nice? He is the expert lover. He wipes the sweat from their face. So nice is Krishna. The gopis honored their hero with smiling glances, sweetened by the beauty of their cheeks and the effulgence of their curly locks and glittering golden earrings. Overjoyed by the touch of his fingernails, they chanted the glories of his all-auspicious transcendental pastimes. The gopis also chant. That's important. Sometimes people ask, why do you chant the glories of Krishna? That's what the great, great devotees, we are following in their footsteps. You heard, I explained, they did the Gopi Gita. They sang a song praying to Krishna. We do the same thing. We have our Vaishnava bhajans, or we have the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, everybody. Lord Krishna's garland had been crushed during his conjugal dalliance with the gopis and colored vermilion by the kumkum powder of their breast. To dispel the fatigue of the gopis, Krishna entered the water of the Yamuna, followed swiftly by what? The bees. The bees are accompanying. And listen, the bees who were singing like the best of the Gandharvas. I like to sing. Maybe one day I'll become one of those singing bees. Yes. Krishna appeared like a lordly elephant entering the water to relax in the company of his consorts. Indeed, the Lord had transgressed all worldly and Vedic morality, just as a powerful elephant might break the dikes in a paddy field. My dear king, in the water, Krishna found himself being splashed on all sides by the laughing gopis. Don't we do that when we go, the young children, right? When they go to the pool, don't they play those splashing games? Where do you think they got it from? From the everything starts with Krishna. You don't make anything new. This splashing thing comes from here. Yes. So they're splashing. In another book, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and also Govinda Lilamrita, there's a further description of how this splashing is. Quite a description. It's a big thing. The Lord then strolled through a small forest on the bank of the Yamuna. This forest was filled to its limit with breezes carrying the fragrances of all the flowers growing on the land and in the water. Followed by his entourage of bees and the beautiful women, Lord Krishna appeared like an intoxicated elephant with his she-elephants. Although the gopis were firmly attached to Lord Krishna, again, whose desires are always fulfilled, the Lord was not internally affected by any mundane sex desire. Still, to perform his pastimes, the Lord took advantage of all those moonlit autumn nights which inspire poetic descriptions of transcendental affairs. So at this point, hearing the Rasa dance, Parikshit Maharaj asks a very, very serious question. So here is what that question is. O Brahmana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of the universe, has descended to this earth along with his plenary portion. Who is he referring to? Who? Balaram. his plenary portion, right? Krishna came with Balaram. And they came to destroy irreligion and reestablish religious principles. Sound familiar? Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam manams srijam yaham, right? And then paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sangstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Yes, he is the original speaker, follower, and guardian of moral laws. How then could he have violated those laws by touching other men's wives? O faithful upholder of vows, please destroy our doubt by explaining to us what purpose the self-satisfied Lord of the Yadus had in mind when he behaved so contemptibly. So Parikshit's question is very important, because those who do not understand who is Krishna, what is Krishna, they may use this Räsa-leelä and criticize or find fault. So the thing is that this question is answered by many different angles of vision. One angle of vision, you all know how when Krishna appeared as Lord Ram, he appeared to show the ideal king, the ideal son, the ideal human example, right? He appeared in a particular way and showed by his example exactly how a human being should behave. But when he comes as his original form, Krishna, the purpose is different. He's coming, and I'm going to show you who is the supreme, original personality of Godhead, no holds barred. Everything is going to be revealed. So that's one answer. Another answer, Krishna, God, is so powerful that nothing can affect him. Prabhupada gives the example of the sun. The sun, would you agree, is all powerful? And if there's a lake of filthy water, the sun by its powerful rays can take care of that. Does the sun become contaminated? No. Why? It's all powerful. When Lord Shiva drinks the ocean of poison, is he affected? All there is a little blue line. Can you drink even a drop of poison? Don't imitate Lord Shiva. Can you lift Govardhan hill? Don't imitate Räsa-leelä. You are in no position to do so. Krishna can, who makes the rules? You know from Bhagavad Gita. And it was just mentioned by Parikshit. Krishna is the one who makes the laws. If he likes, he can break the law. What are you going to do about it? Nothing you can do. He is above the law. No, we want Krishna to follow Hindu law. No. Krishna says, I don't have to follow your Hindu law. I did that as Ramachandra. Now this time, I'm going to show you what is God really like in the ultimate sense. No laws. I will do as I see fit. Now, another answer. Prabhupada explains all this in his Krishna book. Krishna said, Prabhupada says, that all these gopis who were married, their husbands at home were seeing the wife is still there. The gopis went in their spiritual bodies. All the husbands saw their wife was right there during this whole thing. Is Krishna God now? Now, another answer. Who is inside your heart? Do we know who's inside your heart? Krishna. Is Krishna inside the heart of the gopis? So, you heard how Krishna expanded himself as many gopis as there were. He already had expanded himself in their hearts. So if he comes out and sits next to you, what's the problem? Supposing, okay, is Krishna in your heart right now or only sometimes? He's always. So all of a sudden, boom, now Krishna is sitting next to you. Is that a problem? He can sit in your heart, he can sit next to you. So Krishna, instead of staying in the heart of the gopis, he came out and danced with them. What is the problema? No problema. You have to understand who is Krishna. That's the thing. That's why before you can study this chapter, what book do they have to study first? Every year, every one of us should read Bhagavad Gita completamente. Yes, completely. I do that. I practice what I preach. I go through whole Bhagavad Gita every year. And then I do that Bhagavad Gita yagya. Dhritarashtra uvacha, Sanjaya uvacha, Sri Bhagavan uvacha. All 700 slokas. I love that day. Isn't that a great day? That Bhagavad Gita yagya. If ever for any reason the temple doesn't do it, we got to do it. We'll do it here. But I think they'll, but if for some reason they don't do it, we'll do it here. In Nueva Kurukshetra. That is the name of this house. Nueva Kurukshetra. So, Krishna is so powerful. That's why in the Ishopanishad, Prabhupada gives a very nice understanding of the position of God. Right? Antiseptic, prophylactic. These are two very important words so that you understand what we mean by God. Antiseptic and prophylactic. Antiseptic means that any impure thing comes in contact with Krishna. Krishna does not get contaminated and the impure thing gets purified. All right? Antiseptic. In your bathroom, in your kitchen, like after the program tonight, the kitchen will be a mess. The house will be a mess. Especially if there's lots of kids running around. Right? And because 1,000 people are using the bathroom will be a mess. That's all right. Tomorrow, they'll go and clean everything. Everything will become everything will become cleansed. So anything or anybody who comes in contact with Krishna becomes purified, and Krishna, like the sun, does not get contaminated. Now, prophylactic. Prophylactic means no sinful reaction can touch Krishna. Even if he dances with others' wives. Even if he kills a woman. What was the first demon Krishna killed? According to the Vedas, that's a sin. But there's no sinful reaction on Krishna. Why? He's prophylactic. No sin can touch him. This has to be understood. Otherwise, your understanding of God is faulty. And you will make a mistake and your understanding will not be clear. So please remember, Krishna can never be contaminated no matter what he does. And anything impure becomes purified by the touch of Krishna. With that, we can understand not just this, all the pastimes of Krishna. Thankfully, Srila Prabhupada, by his mercy, has blessed me that I can understand and accept this. I hope you also can come to this stage, that Krishna remains pure no matter what. No matter what, he remains pure. So, this Rasa dance went on for a night of Brahma, which according to earth years is millions of years. At the end, Krishna told them, go back home. That is this chapter of the Räsa-leelä. Everybody chant the Maha Mantra.